Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Things. I'm your host for the week Ming, and this week we'll start off our episode by talking about the most recent Xbox partner preview. So first things first, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy XIV, which for all you Xbox users out there, they are finally on Xbox. Yes, you heard that correctly. Final Fantasy XIV is finally on Xbox, and the full launch will be on March 21st for Xbox Series S and X. A starter edition of the game will also be available via Xbox Game Pass Ultimate from launch until April 19. The next game that we're gonna cover is Persona 3 Reload, specifically its expansion pass. The expansion pass will be releasing on March the 12th, so if you guys really enjoy Persona 3, I highly suggest getting the expansion pass because the expansion pass, other than offering you some new cosmetic stuff, there's also of course more story. So if you are a fan of the Persona series, you definitely do not want to miss out on this one. Then next, we're gonna talk about a game that I personally am very interested in that just got gameplay footage, and that game in question is The Altars. So if you guys have never heard of this game before, it's basically a survival adventure type of game, but the cool thing about this is the other characters in this game is, well, different personality of yourself. So it's basically you are supposed to survive with various different versions of yourself. Each version of you have different mindsets, different skill sets, hence the name Alters. Then the next game that I'm going to talk about is called Sleight of Hand. So this game that was just announced during the partnership preview is a stealth game. But what makes this stealth game cool is that you're playing as a witch that uses cards to do like magic tricks and stuff, and guys. So yeah, basically it's kind of a, think of it as Corvo from Dishonored. You know, you have some powers and you're supposed to stealth it out. So yeah, looks pretty cool, but no actual gameplay footage, so I don't really know how the game's supposed to work. But nonetheless, still a pretty cool concept that I think could potentially work out well. And that basically wraps up the Xbox partner preview that we're gonna cover in this episode. Next, we're gonna talk about one game in particular that has just recently announced that the game will no longer be updated anymore, and that game is Crash Team Rumble. So while the game will not get any more updates, the game itself is not going to shut down. The core game will remain live and players will have access to a free 500 tier battle pass. In-game purchases will be switched off, but they can use their existing currency to do battle pass tier skips. So personally, I think this is pretty nice from the devs. You switch off premium currency and you give a pretty like long lasting reward progression that can reward your loyal player base. So yeah, pretty cool thought from the developers, but pretty unfortunate that the game is just not popular enough to be sustainable. But hey, it is what it is. Then we also have announcement that a Ghost of Tsushima director's cut is coming to PC on the 16th of May. So if you guys have never played the game before previously on PlayStation, you can get it now on PC when it's released. And lastly, we also have 11 minutes of Dragon Dogma 2 PS5 gameplay that you guys can check out right now. Speaking of Dragon's Dogma, I have heard that you can actually have really, really, really insane character customizations. So if that is your type of thing, I highly suggest checking it out because from what I've seen so far, the character customization details can be pretty insane. So yeah. Then next, let's talk about some games that are available right now that you can get your hands on. Starting with the Outlast Trials 1.0 release available on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One, and PC. So the Outlast Trial is a pretty cool game because unlike the normal Outlast where it's a single player game, Outlast Trials is, if I recall correctly, a 4-player co-op experience. But yeah, basically it's a co-op game, and your objective is, well, to survive. So you can basically think of Outlast Trials as something like Lethal Company, but instead of you having to actually work, you are supposed to, well, survive, complete objectives, and leave the place intact, without dying to some pretty horrific creatures. So yeah, if you're into like stuff like Day by Daylight, this will pretty much be up your alley, and you would have a pretty good time playing this game. The next title that we're gonna cover is Unicorn Overlord, available on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S and X, and on the Switch. So while the name might have unicorn in it, it's not about unicorns. It's actually a JRPG similar to stuff like Fire Emblem, not really the Sega, kind of a bit like Dragon Quest in terms of the olden Dragon Quest in terms of the graphics. But yeah, you get the idea. It's just another tactical JRPG, which if you like JRPGs, this will be right up your alley. If you don't like it, it'll be eh. So yeah, the next title that I'm cover is called Quilts and Cats of Calico, which is available on PC. So this game is a bit more interesting because unlike the previous two titles, this game is more of a strategy slash relaxing game because in terms of the general aesthetic, it definitely leans towards a more cute type of style. And the main objective of the game is, well, to make quilts for cats. So yeah, you are supposed to knit stuff for cats. You don't actually have to do like knitting per se, but it's kind of based on the gameplay looked like a strategy game a little bit. So yeah, but I don't think it's actually as difficult as an actual strategy game. Just that it's basically a more relaxing type of game where you make cute stuff and meet cute cats. So yeah, if you just want to take a break from, well, violence, strategy, stuff like that, then definitely try out Quilts and Cats of Calico. Lastly, the last game that I'm gonna talk about that is not released this week but has been released for quite some time is actually called Balatro. So Balatro is a roguelike. Personally, I enjoy roguelikes a ton, so yeah, I always like talking about roguelikes. And Balatro is pretty unique because it's actually based on poker. Yeah, so it's a roguelike based on poker, and you basically have to collect jokers to earn as much money as possible. And yeah, it sounds pretty basic, but the game itself is actually really fun, and you can do some pretty crazy stuff in the game. I mean, all roguelikes have this sort of game breaking stuff, but yeah, Balatro is a pretty up and coming roguelike that I would say a lot of people do enjoy. And if you've never tried out Balatro before, I highly suggest checking it out as long as you enjoy roguelikes. And that's pretty much all the games that we have for this week. Next, let's talk about some games that you can get your hands on right now for free. Starting off with Epic Games Store, they are giving out Astro Duel 2, so be sure to get that before it's gone for good. For PS Plus subscribers, you guys are getting Sifu, EA Sports F1 23, Hello Neighbor 2, Destiny 2 Witch Queen. Then for subscribers of Prime Gaming, you guys get Fallout 2, Scar, Mystery Case Files Moths Flame, Invincible presents Atom Eve, Pearls of Atlantis The Cove, Bus Simulator 21 Next Stop, Through the Darkest of Times, as well as Bridge to Another World Secrets of the Nutcracker. So yeah, a ton of games, and if you guys, subscribe to Prime Gaming, be sure to take all of these games. And that basically marks the end of our episode this week. Once again, I was your host for the week, Ming, and yeah, we'll see you guys on another episode of Game Things next week.